In that case, we use the Human Rights Act, and we're trying to equate it to the Human Rights Act. The Human Rights Act has some various class things that cover that, and we felt that the Human Rights Act was applicable in those manners. So that's how that kind of came about. So that's why it was important to look at it in that way.
But there might be a lot of jobs within government that ex-offenders could do.
Within government, we probably do a better quota of most places in hiring ex-offenders. We have various programs where we're doing that. We're also going outside of the government structure, which I think these gentlemen can talk to, where we're trying to be using creative things to bring in that ex-offender population to help deal with a lot of the issues that we have, like crime, like youth and violence. I was with Mo, where he had Peace Go-Go's, brings in guys to tell, quite frankly, the story that these kids think they are ready for, but they're not, and they relate to these guys. And so one of our greatest icons was Chuck Brown. And Chuck Brown, you know, his music reaches many. And Chuck can tell every kid that, hey, this is not what you want to do. I'm a gifted guy, and he keeps them on a path. So I think that that's why we look at some of the things we're doing. Government has to be a partner with the ex-offenders. Peaceaholics has been a huge partner for me. Ex-offender programs are doing that. Our ex-offenders work with DPW and sweep programs and cleaning up. So we have a huge outreach effort for ex-offenders.
Let me talk to Ronald Moulton about Peaceaholics, an extraordinary group that you and another guy have founded. But tell me your particular individual story.
Well, I was incarcerated in 1991 as an ex-offender. I did 4 years. That was like my 5th time being incarcerated.
Oh,
locked
what
up.
Charges?
Drug charges. And when I got locked up, I went to school, got my GED, went to college, and I came home. And there's an organization out here that helped ex-offenders called Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers. I learned a lot from Ceasefire, then I eventually started my own organization with Jahar Abraham. And from that, we've done several things in D.C. public schools, like when a young man was killed in Ballou Senior High School, we were the ones, ex-offenders came and patrolled those hallways when everybody was scared to do so. When the fires were set in Easton, ex-offenders were the ones who went in the hallways and stood in the hallways and worked with that population. In Chopper City, when the bus was taken by the children, ex-offenders were the ones who went in those neighborhoods and risked their lives and brought those young people together and resolved their conflict. So we are a valuable asset to our community, and we just need to be utilized and supported more and get rid of this negative stigma about ex-offenders and call us previously incarcerated people who made a mistake and need a second chance.
And tell me about the program that you're now starting. Was it Anacostia High School?
Well, yeah, we started Anacostia High School under the violence-free zone that Bob Woodson has done with ex-offenders throughout the country, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. What we do is recognize, as Mo said, that when a person's character changes, their characteristic has an advantage over others, because they are witnesses to other young people that transformation is possible and a new life is possible. And so what they do, they have influence among these kids. And some of these kids will listen to them but won't listen to their own parents. And so what we do is that we train them, we screen them, and then we put them in the schools as hall monitors, working with the administration. And so kids will come to them and tell them about impending conflicts. So they're able to intervene, in some cases 100 interventions that prevents violence. And as a consequence, you'll see dramatic reductions in the schools where we have this program. In Dallas, Texas, we went from 137 gang incidents to 0. Enrollment's up 93%, suspensions are down. We have after-school programs, weekends, because they share the same zip codes, both geographical and cultural zip codes with the kids, and therefore they are a rich resource to dramatically reduce violence, not only in schools and communities.
We need to take another break. We will come back and continue this conversation, so stay with us.
Leonardo, I'm sensing a great threat. We need to be a family once again.
On March 23rd.
Within hours, we'll lose the city to monsters.
I have to disagree with you on that one.
4 brothers will unite as one. Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo.
Yeah!
TMNT.
Got any moves left?
Use this one!
Rated PG. In theaters March 23rd.
We're the DC Department of Health, and we challenge you
to eat smart. to drink smart. To move more. For more tips on a healthier lifestyle, call the D.C. Department of Health at 202-671-5000.
You have our cell phone number, bruh.
We'll be back at midnight.
Fabulous.
Or 9.
Okay.
It's easy to create a stunning outdoor retreat with E.P. Henry. From dream to design to bliss. Visit ephenry.com.
Curious about how much your home is worth in today's market? It could be worth more than you think. Find out at housevalues.com. Get a free estimate of your home's current value and learn what other homes like yours have sold for. So log on to housevalues.com. That's housevalues.com.
You get just 24 hours every day to work towards your goals. Just 24 hours to get one step closer to your dreams. And at PNC, we're always searching for ways to help. To give you solutions designed to uncomplicate your life. So you can navigate the next 24 hours. PNC, leading the way.
Welcome back to Viewpoint on the Sunday morning. We're talking about using ex-offenders in schools to help maintain peace in the schools. Has the program actually begun? And how many ex-offenders are involved right now, and exactly what are they doing?
Well, let me just say, first of all, we have been active. Not all of our youth advisors are ex-offenders.
Okay.
Some of them are. Some of them are not. Trust of kids doesn't necessarily come because you've been to jail.
Right.
It comes because you have the trust and confidence and you're available to them. So I want to make that clear. Our program is not just for ex-offenders.
And let me add to Mr. Woodson, because we've done what a think tank of people, and for example, the peaceaholics and ex-offenders they bring are part of a larger government-structured focus group where we have roving leaders, Metropolitan Police Department, housing police, school interdiction counselors, and we use the resource best where they can be used in the streets and connecting weekend, nighttime activities to those services that we provide as a government with what they do. So what we do is they become the connectors. They're the ones who end up being shadows for people in communities where, quite frankly, our upright citizens do not want to go and need a lot of help. And so the best people to turn it around are those who have walked that valley of places where some of us have never been. And so we connect them with the necessary government services. MPD has been useful in working with peaceaholics and any other group, because this is not just a policing issue. Yeah. It's a social concern. And what we try to do is connect that social concern to uplifting young people in our communities and others who may be headed down that path that can be steered in a different direction.
For instance, when we were in Kelly Miller Middle School, we were there using some private funding. The principal, Mr. Slade, was saying that prior to us coming in there, every week a child was transported to the hospital in an ambulance, injured in a fight. But since the youth advisors have been there, 0 ambulance calls. Prior to, so that we are looking at some objective facts of what is going on in the schools and in communities, and as a consequence of having our staff, the violence-free zone, you'll see dramatic changes, and that's going to start within a week. We're going to, Mo and I will be in there.
When I'm at a go-go with Mo, and he stands up and he has a peace go-go, and he stands in front of them and reads these lists of rules and says, hey, this is Mo talking. And I'm telling you now, if you cross the line, you're out of here, and you don't have 3 strikes in my system. This is an ex-offender. You got 1 strike, and you're out because you're not ruining for everybody else. And that's people don't see that. And that's what passions me about this gentleman we're sitting here with, because I've been, you know, until I tell parents and other people in the community, oh, we don't need to have these events, well, come to one of them. See what's going on. See an ex-offender stand there and tell them, look, I've had the 3 strikes for you. It's a 1-strike deal and not my thing. So he could tell you about how he IDs them and what he does.
I want to ask you, Ron Moten, what are you hearing from ex-offenders who are involved in this program? What does it bring to them to be able to contribute like this?
Well, it's uplifting. I mean, this is the greatest thing that can happen to us, to give back. I mean, it changed your whole spirit. People, we get all these letters from guys who locked up. Man, I can't wait to get home to be with you, and I want to give back to my community and make a difference. Just them seeing people who were like them change and know the things that I used to do and see what I'm doing out here, man, we uplifting our whole community, inspiring people to come back and do the right thing. So they preparing themselves while they're incarcerated to come home and do the right thing. And the children we deal with, if you don't give us a chance, these young men that the law enforcement and everybody asking us to reach so they don't have to deal with them, how you expect them to change? They don't see you giving us a chance. So that's what they tell us. If they're not going to give you a chance, why should I leave the corner, stop selling drugs and doing what I'm doing? If you made a mistake and you change, they won't give you a chance. And a lot of people...
And economics is a huge indicator. Right. That's why this law is so important. That's why this law affects the human rights law that was created in 1977, because it is giving someone an opportunity to make their lives whole. These young men or women who come home cannot provide for their families. If we don't find mechanisms to connect them and say, hey, this is why I'm not doing it. I didn't have this opportunity before. Now I'm working, I'm productive, I am involved and responsible.
It's a way to get a piece of the action.
Yes, yeah, and Mayor Fenty is one of the first public officials. One of the first things he did was convene Mo and me and Curtis Watkins and said, I'm going to invest in this. And he has done so, and that's why I want to give him credit for having invested.
Well, congratulations and good luck and best wishes for this entire program. It sounds terrific. Thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you with us, and thank you for joining us as well. We're going to send you now back to News 4 Today and hope you have a great Sunday. Thanks.
In the news today, Senators Barack Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton battled for votes at an historic reenactment of the Voting Rights March that took place in Selma, Alabama in 1965.
This week, 2 congressional hearings are expected to focus on recent reports of poor quality of care at the military's top hospital here in Washington.
And the forecast calls for colder and more windy conditions today.
You're watching NBC4 Connected. Live from the area's leading news station, this is News 4 Today.
Good morning and welcome back to News 4 Today. I'm An Yang.
And I'm Keith Garvin. The news is just ahead, but first let's check in with Steve Villanueva up in Storm Center 4. Good morning, Steve.
Well, good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. We're starting off with plenty of sunshine this morning, but it is really chilly out there. Temperatures are at or just below freezing, and it's also very windy, making it feel like the 20s across the area. So again, temperatures right now anywhere from the upper 20s through the lower 30s. It's really windy, making it feel like the teens and the 20s, so definitely a cold start to the day. On the satellite image, we're clear, so lots of sunshine in the forecast for this afternoon. We're heading up into the mid-40s, but with the wind, it will feel like the 30s for most of the day. Tomorrow, a little bit warmer, but still windy. And of course, we'll explain all of this coming up in just a bit. Guys?
Okay, look forward to it, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Today, 2 presidential hopefuls will compete for support at an historic site where many fought for voting rights. More than 4 decades after what became known as Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama, thousands of people are gathering to mark the occasion. Among them, Georgia Congressman John Lewis, who led the march in 1965, as well as Senators Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Jay Gray has a preview from Selma, Alabama.
Remembering and celebrating in Selma, Alabama. Every year, thousands travel to this tiny town that played such a big role in the American Civil Rights Movement. Later today, many will gather to recreate the march across the bridge to Montgomery, including 2 high-profile presidential hopefuls.
I'm going to be going down to Selma, Alabama.
Democratic frontrunners Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton will be courting vitally important minority voters. Former President Bill Clinton will also be in Selma today, his first major appearance since his wife began her campaign for the White House, and evidence, perhaps, of just how much ground Obama has gained in the polls, and more importantly, with the party's power brokers and fundraisers. Remembering one of the most important days in U.S. history, and this year, perhaps, Selma again playing a major role in shaping the country's future.
Now, while the war of words has intensified between the Obama and Clinton campaigns over the last several weeks, both sides say that today is about respect and remembering what happened here more than 40 years ago. In Selma, Alabama, Jay Gray, News 4 Today.
After seeing the destruction firsthand, President Bush is promising the communities devastated by Thursday's deadly storms federal help. The massive storm spawned 31 tornadoes in 5 states, and the deadly twister that hit a high school in Enterprise, Alabama was 200 yards wide and 8 miles long. 8 students were killed.
The lights went out, the skylight above us busted, and you curl underneath each other, and you wake up to half of the hallway gone, and people screaming for the boys to lift the rubble.
The president followed the course of the storms from Alabama to Georgia, where he also made an unscheduled stop in the town of Americus. He declared several of the devastated areas to be disaster zones, which opens up federal funds for the hardest hit.
This week, lawmakers are expected to discuss the problems at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in 2 separate hearings. In his weekly radio address, the president called the conditions unacceptable and announced a bipartisan commission to investigate all military and veterans hospitals. This follows recent reports about substandard conditions at Walter Reed. The president wants to know if it's a broader problem, and Democrats echo that sentiment.
So I'm announcing that my administration is creating a bipartisan presidential commission to conduct a comprehensive review of the care America is providing our wounded servicemen and women.
The White House and Congress have an urgent obligation now to fix the neglect at Walter Reed and the longer-term issues that affect our wounded veterans.
2 top officials have already been fired in the scandal, including the top commander, who is expected to testify on Capitol Hill tomorrow. Now to Iraq, where 3 U.S. soldiers were killed this weekend. The military says they died after their vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. The troops were on routine patrol in Baghdad